Okay, and just as a reminder, so we're going to be live streaming these videos. Your attendance and your name will not be shown, just letting you know. But these videos will be available for you after the session, and we'll also be having videos that we're downloading and editing afterwards. So I hope you all enjoy the presentation. Just one more moment. Hey, Ellen and Aneela, would you mind sharing your videos?
It's telling me it's unable to start video.
Yep. You can try right now.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, you're on mute, Aneela.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, looks like Linda said hello. Good morning, nice to, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Good evening. I'm just I'm waiting for our live stream to begin, and obviously, as you know, there is quite a bit of bandwidth going on lately. So I'm going to try one more time.
So who else feels like they're living in a dystopian novel?
I'm kind of in this weird, like, I don't believe what's happening. I don't know, like this fog of like, my bubble feels fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
But then you read the news and you freak out.
That's right. So
that's why it's really important, I think, to gauge how much news you actually take in, because it's changing so fast.
And sometimes I have met this doctor once who said, when you're feeling very anxious, just write your own ending. Even if something's already happened, just write your own ending. And I thought that was really good advice. And I did that at one point where I was ruminating over something and I couldn't stop. And I decided, all right, I'm going to change this ending.
Yeah.
And I rewrote the story. And then my mishigash, which is the Yiddish word for craziness, just kind of went away.
Yeah, that's worked for me too. Like drama, just rewriting it rather than keep like harping over the same story over and over, like changing how you remember it changes its effect on you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so I think Facebook is having some issues. So what we're going to do is we are recording these sessions and we will upload them to Facebook at a later date, probably later today. But my name is Amy and I work with TLC. Leslie is also here. She is the programs director. And we're so happy to have all of you for day 2 of our virtual mini conference. If you're having any issues with technical problems, please feel free to post in the chat. We are very lucky to have our 2 presenters today, not just our presenters, but our sponsors as well. So Aneela and Ellen are both here from the company HabitAware. They make bracelets, which probably most of you have heard of. And so what I wanted to do is to kick this off, the session off, I want to share a video that they made for us. So please tune in and enjoy.
I've gotten it down to like once a week, maybe, is incredible. When normally I would just sit there and pull.
I love this company, their mission, the people who created this device and just how they are in the BFRB community.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Aneela and Ellen, for not just starting a wonderful company and supporting our community, but being leaders in the field. So with that, I'm going to minimize my video and let them take it away. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you so much for having us. I'm just pulling up our little presentation. Give me 1 second. I should have had that open, my bad.
It's all good.
And then I can share my screen. We are super, super excited to be here. And, you know, I think like everyone, really sad that the Chicago conference got canceled, but obviously it was for the right reasons. But we're finding that everyone is turning to technology to reconnect. I just did yoga this morning with my sister, which was awesome. And she was just like, we could be doing this on a normal day too, but there's something about what's happening right now that's helping us all reconnect, and hopefully we'll see some good stuff come of everything that's happening. And we're super excited to be here to talk to you about not just face touching, but also, you know, the behaviors that we actually have been going through for most of our lives: hair pulling, skin picking, nail biting. So Ellen is our HabitAware's Director of Awareness, and I am one of the co-founders of HabitAware. I don't really have a title other than co-founder. And yeah, we just wanted to share a little bit of what we've learned over the last couple of years in learning to kind of take control. And we've really centered it around, I have kind of always been how I sort of always talk about love, strength, and awareness. So just make sure there's someone in the chat. If anyone needs anything, hello, Ruya, nice to see you.
Hey, hi. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
So how awesome is this community that we all know each other by name, by face. We see each other in online groups. So support doesn't end with this video. Support is out there for you whenever you need it. And I'm just gonna jump right into what we mean by leveraging love, strength, and awareness to really overcome these conditions. So for 20 years, I hid my hair pulling. And the reason I hid was because I was ashamed of it. I thought people would think I was weird, and I was already weird enough as a, you know, scrawny little Indian kid and a nerdy kid as well. So I just didn't want to give anyone a reason to kind of shut me out even further. So I hid my hair pulling with eyebrow makeup. A lot of people use wigs and different kinds of makeup, or maybe even for skin picking. And I came to this realization that I spent all that time and energy hiding. And it clicked for me that all that time and energy could have been spent healing instead. So I want to just leave you with that thought of what you could be doing instead with that time, with that energy, rather than trying to hide it, and actually like kind of unlock it and release it and get it out. And really, love to me is really about self-love. Because of my hair pulling, I used to tell myself I was not good enough, right? I always strove for perfection, and you cannot attain perfection as a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, a 40-year-old, almost 40-year-old. And it fed this vicious cycle of negative self-speak, of constantly saying, I'm ugly, I'm never gonna find love, I'm not good enough. And when I had those thoughts of I'm never gonna find love, I was dating all the wrong guys. And you kind of just kept saying, like, why am I all wrong? Why, like, what's wrong with me? Like, and hating myself because I wasn't the person I wanted to be. So what love means really is an intense feeling of deep affection. We talk about it when we're talking about our parents or our boyfriend or our girlfriend, but first and foremost, you have to love yourself before you can let the right people in, right? Like, I didn't love myself, and I had some really nasty guys in my life during that time. And the moment I started focusing on changing that conversation in my mind is the moment I started finding true love. So someone is saying, is anyone still seeing the first slide? So I'm on the slide that has a heart that says to learn to love myself. Do you guys see that?
No, Aneela, it's still the cover sheet
Huh.
for coming, hair pulling, skin picking, and nail biting. There we go. Now we see the heart. Learn to love myself.
All right, my bad. So I'm just gonna.
Thank you for sharing that on the chat.
Yes. So jumping to this slide here. So you're gonna have to, I guess, see the full PDF stuff because I don't know how to.
It's all good. Yeah, that's cool.
So really, to learn to love myself, I had to stop that negative conversation in my mind. I had to kind of change this conversation and shift to a growth mindset. And Ellen can talk briefly about what that means.
Yeah, so a growth mindset is, well, let's just talk about mindset in general. So everybody has a mindset, and we go about our business. And there's a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And a fixed mindset is, I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be able to stop. I'm only going to take math because that's the only subject I'm good at. But when you have a growth mindset, then you're able to recognize what you're good at, what you're not good at, and then figure out how you can get there. So, for example, I can't stop pulling. I can't stop picking yet. And that's where the yet makes a huge difference, because then you're able to shift your mindset into, well, I'm not able to do this now, but how can I get there? So that's how we like to equate the mindset.
Yeah, so I had kind of this fixed mindset of there's something wrong with me. I am never going to achieve. I'm never going to do. I'm never. And so it's really about trying to get to a more objective place. So yeah, maybe something is wrong with me, and that's why I'm engaging in a pulling behavior. But what is that something? Don't just stop there. Don't just say, oh, something's wrong with me, I'm gonna pull. It's okay, something's wrong with me. That's my body's way of telling me something is wrong. So let me try to figure out what's going on instead. Let me see, am I tired? Am I bored? Am I hungry? And try to deal with that emotion or that trigger so that you're not pulling. And so that's kind of one example. The other example is in just the way that I used to talk to myself. I used to tell myself I'm ugly, I'm never gonna find love, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough. And the more you tell yourself that, the more your brain wants to be right and is gonna constantly show you, oh, yep, you got a B instead of an A on the test, or you got picked last at the gym class, you got this, you got that. And so you want to be right? So you're constantly looking for the moments in your life where you're not good enough, or you're ugly, or you're not chosen, or you're not smart. And it just feeds that vicious cycle. So I had to go back and say, no, I need to talk to myself with more kindness. I need to change that conversation in my head. And so these are the affirmations that I came up with, and I actually have more than this, but literally for 1 year straight, every morning I would sit and I would read these affirmations to start my day. I am loved, I am loving, I am beautiful, I have the talent, the brains, the confidence, the creativity to succeed. That one specifically was around the time I was going to an advertising school, and I was around all these students who had done it before and were so good at their craft, and I was still learning how to use Photoshop. And so I had to tell myself I can do it, and that I am enough. And you have to also try to do that too. I know it's really hard in the moment. And I also have created a list of affirmations that I try to tell my 2 boys every night at bedtime. And it's just really nice to let them know who they are and to remind them of who they are, so that as they grow older, they don't get it from someone else. They don't get it from the kids on the playground, or they don't get it from the teacher that doesn't get them. They don't get it from, you know, the random person at the grocery store that says, oh, he's shy. Like, no, he just doesn't know you. You're a stranger, right? Like, and he's going to take that into his brain. Like, no, I'm going to tell him you are strong, you are confident, you are, you know, I don't even know what else I tell them, but I want them to know who they are. Oh, TLC, is that Leslie or Amy? Do you want, either way with the slides, tell me if you have a preference.
I am happy to share our slides.
Okay.
So that way there's no, there's nothing in the background.
Okay.
I love what you were just saying. Can you keep going? So I identify with that so much.
Do you need me to do anything for you to take over the share?
No, I'm about to put them up.
Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I recognized it in myself that I was making this mistake with myself of telling myself all these negative things, and I don't want that to happen to my kids. I want to be the one that, in a way, now, obviously I need them to now come to the table as they get older and decide who they want to be and what they want to focus on in life and what's important to them. I talk about creativity in my affirmations, but maybe that might not be important to them. Maybe they want to be like mathematical or scientific or which actually you need creativity for both of those too. But you know what I mean? You have to really hone in on what's important to you and your life, and what you want out of life.
I'd like to also add another example, Aneela, that you made me think of when you were talking about this, because we all talk about ourselves we have so many thoughts that are going on in our head. And one is when we're holding on to something, we tell kids, don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it. Well, why don't we say, hold on to it? It's just a different way of thinking about things. So when you catch yourself doing something that's negative, you can either add the word yet at the end of it, or you can just pause and flip the script. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about next.
So, and maybe I'll be able to share out all these slides to everyone, but the idea here is to take a moment and to try to think about what are the things you're telling yourself and to come up with the flip side of that. So I'm ugly because I'm beautiful. I'm never going to find love means I am married to the, this was a literal one right after I met Samir. We were just sort of starting to kind of date, and I had written down, I am with the man that I'm going to marry, and we are successful partners in love and marriage. And then months later, we got engaged. So, you know, someone, as we were waiting, said, manifest it. And this is exactly what you're doing, is you're trying to focus on the good in your life. You're trying to focus and it's not, it may not be in your life right now, but it's where you want to go. Another one that I use is, I am happy and grateful now that. And then I wrote a list of things that I wanted in the future. Now that I am married to a loving and supportive husband, now that I found a job, this was back when I was looking for a job, you know, that kind of stuff. One of the other ones was, I'm happy and grateful now that Samir and I are in the city that brings us love and happiness and success. And around that time, he was looking for a job, and it brought us to Minneapolis. And Minneapolis became the catalyst for the company that we've created, HabitAware. It wouldn't have happened if we were back in New York. So just, you know, leave yourself room to stretch in those affirmations too. I didn't say I'm happy and grateful now that we have good jobs in New York. I kind of let the universe bring us to where we needed to be in that way. So yeah, so I'll be quiet for like 2 minutes, and then if anyone wants to chime on the chat and share an example of their self-love affirmation, that would be awesome.
Well, we've got a few right now. Someone has put through that they keep repeating these words: love, joy, happy, and that's also wonderful too. You don't necessarily have to have something very specific.
Yep.
And I'll share some of mine that I've written down that helped me, and that I am strong, and I am beautiful, and I am resilient, and I am flexible. because everybody resonates with something different that brings them joy. Aneela is very creative and very artistic. For me, exercise and moving my body is very important to me. So feeling flexible both in my mind and in my body is something that helps me, it helps fill me up. And what we want to do in times of stress like we have now with coronavirus is we need to find things that help us be resilient. And what are those things that we can look to? And I'm so thrilled that someone else also said they're resilient. That's awesome. And some people are saying they're giving thanks for some basic statements like I can breathe, I can sleep under a roof. And actually, I want to talk about that for a second because that's so important. Aneela was sharing what she did during her time where she had specific affirmations that she said every day. And one of the things that I do and that I did and I still do is I write down 10 things that I'm grateful for before I go to sleep so I can seed good things for when I wake up. And sometimes you feel like you have to have something grand, and you don't have to have something grand. You could be thankful for coffee. You could be thankful for the parking spot that you got that day. You could be thankful that you were able to do yoga in Minneapolis and in Florida by video chat. You can be thankful that you have food in your cupboard. We can be thankful that we live in the United States and there isn't a war. I mean, there's all different kinds of things that you can be thankful for and grateful for. And people are grateful that they're alive.
Yep.
That is awesome. And I'm great. And you know, if we didn't have COVID-19, we wouldn't be here right now doing this, which really I'm just feeling the love coming through and the support. I'm feeling it coming through my computer with the audience. I just know you're all here, and it really feels great.
Yeah. I've done a lot of these like Zoom type webinar type things, and you always wonder, hello, are people there? Are people listening? And it's clear that you're taking this in and you're on board with what we're saying. The next slide is just a giant question mark to see if anyone has questions about how they can kind of change. Yes, I hear you and love you too, Jude. Oops. Oh, you know what, Amy? Can you actually close out? Because that's the wrong deck. I'm sorry. Oops. I messed this up.
No, you didn't. You just gave an opportunity, more opportunity for people to think about change of what they want of their affirmation.
All right, let me share if that's okay. I seem to have included my notes in there, so that way I can bypass quickly. So you can see strength on the screen.
Yeah, you want to give us the thumbs up? All right, awesome.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Cool. Thank
All right,
you.
so that's really about love, right? It's more about self-love before you can give anyone else love. It's about changing that conversation in your mind. And then the next method of overcoming these behaviors is around strength. And we use strength in two ways. So I'll explain the first way, and then Ellen is going to explain the second way. So what does strength mean? Strength means emotional or mental or physical qualities to deal with difficult situations. So we're really talking about that mental strength, right? It's not about 300 pounds of weight that you can lift. It's about changing, again, strengthening your mind. And this here is something that I also, around the time that Samir found out I was hair pulling, it made me realize this, that secrets make you sick. I was for 20 years allowing this thing to take control of what was happening in my mind, and it was creating this vicious cycle. And I was pretending to get sick when I was younger, like, oh, I have a cough or I have a stomach ache, so that I could avoid social interaction with the other kids in my neighborhood or at school. And honestly, it was making me sick. It was making me socially sick. It was making me physically sick. It was making me mentally sick. And so there's the strength here that I want you to think about is really around that strength in sharing your secret. In, like, the more I tried, the harder it became, the more self-conscious I became. And so I had to really free myself of the secret in order to really shift from this sense of hiding and always needing to be like someone I wasn't, to really finding that healing. And, you know, as we're talking about, well, what are the silver linings we can find in COVID, us coming together, us reconnecting with family, with friends, us having time with our kids. My kids are upstairs right now because they're home from school, but, you know, I spent the whole morning with them playing Play-Doh and things that I normally wouldn't do. Like I would be cleaning and cooking if it was the weekend, or, you know, doing other stuff. And now it's like, okay, I can actually just do nothing with you guys for a change. So that COVID silver lining is really around this. The world finally has a way to understand BFRBs, which is face touching. We are constantly told, just stop pulling, just stop picking, just stop biting your nails, just stop. And our response to that has always been, well, how can I stop something I don't know I'm doing? How can I stop something that I don't realize is happening? And now if you go on Twitter and you search face touching, you will see hundreds of thousands of people saying, didn't realize I touch my face this much. I can't stop touching my face. I can't, how am I supposed to do this? And they finally understand what it means to have restless hands, restless mind, and a movement, a behavior that we do not have control over. And so I really think that we have an opportunity as BFRBers, especially the ones that maybe still haven't come out or haven't tried to build their social support circle, to leverage this and try to use face touching as a conversation starter, to educate other people about what BFRBs are, and to help build that bridge of compassion between maybe a boyfriend or a husband or a parent, and to really help get them on your side to help support you. And so we actually shared this insight on our newsletter last Wednesday, and this woman wrote back in and wrote, I read your post to my husband, and while listening, he scratched his nose and cheeks 5 times. And when I told him to stop, he said, I can't. Right? That's exactly our life. And now he knows what it feels like. And so now we've opened that door for her and her husband to now look at her hair pulling disorder in a different way, and to build that bridge of compassion. To now when he sees her, he's going to use a different method of language, right? Not just stop, but he's going to feel more sympathy, more empathy for what's happening, because it's now gone to them. It's now something that he really can understand.
And the other thing I'd like to add to that is that knowing where your hands are right now in today's world, that's the new normal. And that's what's in, that's what's popular. So what we as people of BFRBs who are unable, we don't know where our hands are, hey, that's the whole world right now. And it's an in thing. We don't have to hide it because everybody understands it.
Yep. So this is a little activity maybe you can do. I'll send this out, but really more of that sharing your secret if you haven't already, to basically just help you build a plan. Who are you going to tell? What will you tell them? And where are you going to tell them? So thinking about a safe place to tell them. So in the interest of time, we'll keep rolling, and I'll pass it to Ellen right after this. And if you're still not ready to share it, that is okay, because everyone needs to do this in their own time, and their own time is the right time. So just know that as well. So any questions about strength and leveraging strength? Yes, Judy.
You can keep doing it. We can hear
You're on
you.
mute.
Awesome.
Yeah, Ashton, isn't that amazing? Like when we started creating HabitAware, and Samira and I came up with this idea of like just something that made me aware, I had to kind of get over that hurdle again of sharing with friends in my technology community here in Minneapolis. And so many people came up to me afterwards and told me, I pull out my hair too, or I'm a nail biter. And now I think there's less whispering, which is awesome. That was 3 or 4 years ago. And so I really am glad to know that there's definitely a shift in awareness, a shift in education, a shift in being comfortable with talking about this stuff. So that's awesome that, right? So now you told your friend and she struggles too, and now you can find a way to not struggle anymore together, which is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about awareness, because you can't change what you don't know. And what I'd like to do is just take this, just to kind of share with you a little bit about how I came to HabitAware, because it had all to do with my awareness. So, you know, like Aneela, I am a hair puller, except I pull my scalp hair. And I started over 40 years ago. So I was 11 years old. I'm 54 now. And I remember, some people remember where they were, other people, they don't remember where they were, but I was out on the playground and we were about to pick teams for sports, and I was neither sporty nor popular. And so I was just playing with my hair, I guess, like kids do. And I pulled one out, and all of a sudden I felt this zing, and that was it. I was hooked, and I had no idea I was doing any damage. And I was pulling behind my ears until my mother took me to get my hair cut. You know, and Fatima, still remember her name, was going like this, and there were 2 bald spots behind my ears. And so Fatima pulls my mother over and says, "Hey, Sandy, there's something wrong with Ellen." And all I could hear was, there's something wrong with Ellen. And they're staring at me. She has 2 bald spots behind her ears. So I lied. And they said, "What did you do?" And I lied. And I said, Ancino, who was my best friend at the time, put gum in my hair. And they believed me. And I was frightened, and I said, "Oh my God, Ellen, you can never do this again." And you guys know how that went over. So for 40 years, I pulled and pulled and pulled, but I learned to pull all over so that I wouldn't have specific spots. And fast forward in May of 2017, and remember, HabitAware launched in March of 2017, after pulling for 3 hours and feeling my elbows hurting and my fingers are hurting, I Googled, you know, what's the latest breakthroughs in trichotillomania? And I expected nothing, but I found the HabitAware bracelets. So I decided, oh my God, I got to buy these because it's invented by someone who grew up with this issue. And it's the awareness. So I bought 2. And I put 2 on, and I programmed 4 areas. And of course I didn't follow the instructions because, you know, I just going to put them on and it's going to work. And it was an epic fail. I got vibrations everywhere. I didn't have any awareness. But the good news is that I got an email that said, "Hey, you want some help training?" And I'm just going to do a plug here. If anyone has any Keen bracelets and you need help training them, reach out to me and I will help you. It's one of my favorite things to do. So Samir got on the phone with me and he shared with me to use 1 bracelet, train 1 area for about a couple of days, and I trained the precursor because I was training these big sweeping motions instead of my precursor, and all of a sudden it started to work. And I would get this awareness, I would get the vibration on my wrist, which I equated with a hug as something positive, and all of a sudden the awareness was there. And I was able to put my hands down and pause, which I'll get to in a moment. And it worked so well that I called up Samir. Well, that's not true. It took me 4 hours to draft an email to say, I want to work with you and help others the way you helped me. And within a couple of months, we decided we were going to give it a go. They weren't expecting me. And now I went from Keen family, which I still am, to Keen team. And I cry every day because I'm able to help all of you work with Aneela and work on this mission. So that's my story. But I do want to talk about strength, because there's 2 kinds of strength. There's the strength, like Aneela said, where the strength to ask for help and the strength to...
Oh, wait, I'm just going to get there. Hang on 1 second.
Oh, okay.
All right, here you go.
And the strength to ask for help, but there's also the strength, what happens when you get this vibration. So let me also mention this too. So and I'm sure you guys can all equate. When we start to pick and we start to bull and we start to bite, we're super mad at ourselves. Why am I doing this? What's wrong with me? Why can't I stop? You suck, I can't do, and all these negative things. So I decided this vibration was a hug on my wrist telling me, hey, Ellen, high five, you're strengthening your awareness muscles. And that takes time. I like to exercise. I can't just go to a workout class and be done and have a six-pack. It doesn't work that way. And it's the same thing with your awareness. It's a practice. You have to do it over and over again, just like learning to play the piano or learning a new learning a new language or learning a class. So when I would get the vibration, I would pause. First, I congratulate myself for making my awareness muscle grow. And then I would pause and I would think, what's going on? Oh, I'm in bed. It's nighttime. It's 11:30. I've been reading. Maybe I should just close the book and go to sleep. Where before I would continue to read and read and read. Or maybe I'm sitting at my desk and it's 11:30 and I'm catching myself. Well, I've been sitting here for 2 hours. Maybe I should get up and go get some lunch. Or maybe I should get up and stretch. So creating replacement strategies is all going to be specific. You have to look for clues. Aneela and I could sit here and we could give you a laundry list. And you guys all know the laundry list. Go into the bathroom with a timer, dim your lights, have fidget toys. You all know what to do. But it's all going to depend on what's going on with you at that moment, at that time. So some examples of that would be, you're sitting, figure out how am I feeling. So it's 10 o'clock at night, you're sitting on the sofa and you're just doing nothing, watching TV, and it's late and you're pulling or you're picking. Well, it's 10 o'clock, maybe I should just get up and I should go to bed. But what happens if you're sitting on the sofa and it's 12:30 in the afternoon? How am I feeling? Am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling bored? What am I doing? Maybe at that moment you get up and you go outside and you stretch or you walk around the block. So all of these strategies that you're going to come up with are going to be different based on what you're feeling, what you're doing, and where you are. And if anybody wants to...
Yeah, it's really important to not just say, oh, I'll use my fidget cube, because you may not have it around, or like you really have to build this toolkit. I think that's kind of something that I see everywhere. Build your toolkit or create a little pack, like Ellen has a little pouch with, all these different fidget things.
And I'm actually going to show you what my fur ball is downstairs in the car because I had to drive so I was driving to Ohio to pick up my daughter. And so I had my fidget pack ready. And I have a fur ball in it. I have hair ties in it that I love that I can play with. I have a pencil because I like the feel of the eraser. And that's what I always will grab. So if I know that I'm going to be in the car, I'm going to have something like this with me.
Yeah. But it's really important to not just say, oh, I'm pulling, and to try to just replace the pulling or like keep your hands busy. It's really important to start digging deeper and try to understand what your triggers are. What are you feeling? What are you doing? Who are you with? Where are you? What time it is? Because the environment around you is impacting your mental state. So if you're just saying, oh, I'm pulling right now, or I'm picking right now, I'm going to grab a pencil and play with it instead, that's not enough. It's not retraining your brain enough to say, oh, I don't want to be doing that. But if you can start building your self-awareness of, oh, I'm feeling really tense right now, and that way you can find a better strategy to deal with it. Well, if you're feeling really tense right now because you have an exam and you think you're going to fail, or, then you can use that information a little bit better and say, okay, well, why don't I call up my buddy and study together? So now I have someone with me, which means hopefully I'm not pulling as much because I'm not a social puller, if you will, right? Or I can work with someone. I can talk through the questions that I have from the stuff that I'm studying, and I'll feel a little bit less anxious about the exam because I will have gone through it with someone else already. So it's really understanding what's happening, what you're feeling. What you're feeling is key, because that means that you're going to then give yourself the best replacement strategy that's going to click the light bulb in your brain to say, oh, that feels better, right? Because that's what all your brain is doing right now. When I'm pulling, it's because my brain is saying that feels better. But if I can give my brain something else that they say, yep, that my brain says, yep, that feels good too, then I stop wanting to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So the next slide is my example here. So I mostly used to pull when I was stressed, when I was doing work late night on my couch, on my computer. So like typing away, and then I just pull, and see little tiny hairs all over my keyboard. And now for me, I just go to sleep. That is the best replacement strategy for me, because the work is there in the morning, which is okay. My hair is there in the morning, which is awesome. And I'm getting the sleep that I need, instead of being up at from 2 in the morning till 6, getting such a short amount of sleep, which means then I wake up the next day stressed, tired, lethargic. So I have really leveraged this so much. To just go to sleep. Like how easy is that? It's awesome. And now I have 2 small kids, and every night I do bedtime, and I just fall asleep with them at 8:30 at night. And it's great. And here's Ellen's example.
Yeah, so you can see that's all my hair starting to grow back from using Keen. And what I do is I love pencil erasers. I just love the feeling of them. So that's what I play with, as well as my hair tie. And then I like to take walks as well as stretch. Hi, Mirren. And the other thing too, I think is important, is it's okay to be uncomfortable. We do these behaviors because they're self-soothing. Something's happening and we're feeling uncomfortable. And it could, we had a difficult conversation with a parent or with a loved one or with a friend, and we feel uncomfortable. Or we didn't do as well on that test, and we're afraid that we're not going to get the grade we need, and we're going to have to retake it. Life happens, and things are uncomfortable. And learning to live with it being uncomfortable and doing something else to self-soothe besides doing the unwanted behavior of picking or pulling is a huge win. And it's great to be able to learn to live with things being uncomfortable. So let's go on to our next slide and talk about, see, now I'm uncomfortable. I lost my place.
Yep, that's okay. So this is just, the next slide is just the reiteration of those questions. Maybe grab a screenshot and try to ask yourself, I remember when I was growing up, we would do like news article assignments, and we'd have to answer the 5 W's and the H, the who, what, when, where, why, how. That's right. Basically what you have to answer for yourself. So yep. Who am I with? What am I doing? Where am I? What time is it? How am I feeling? And if you can answer those questions, those answers are going to be the clues to get you to the right strategy in that moment. So I wrote, she pulls a lot during transition time. So before getting out of bed, and when in the bathroom before going to bed. So, okay, so you're in your like room area-ish, bedroom, bathroom. How are you feeling during those times, Eyelet? Trying to get to the attendee lists. Maybe
transition times could be a big one. I've heard that a lot. Okay, I pull a lot with deadlines. Oh yeah, and procrastinating. Oh, that's a big one for me. The increasing time. I'm alone on the couch in the car and ruminating, and getting closer increases. So yeah, it's a lot of us will have the urge or the desire, or we just don't know during transition times or when there's a lot of downtime. One of the biggest places for me was in the car as I was driving to carpool. There was no one else there. It was about 4:30 in the afternoon, so I'm kind of decompressing after the day, and all of a sudden my hands would be in my hair. And so when I noticed that, for me, when I was in the car and it was 4:30, I couldn't go to sleep. I couldn't take a walk. So what I would do is deep breathing, as well as I would try to have something with me to play with. So one of the things with us, with the BFRBs, is we always have our hands and our skin and our nails and our hair with us. We can't put them away. But we also have our breath with us. That's something that we also can control. So if you are catching yourself during transition times, and you're catching yourself when you have deadlines or you're anxious, maybe practice doing deep breathing as you're going from the bathroom into the bedroom, or as you're noticing when you're at your desk and you're trying to get something done for a deadline. Just pause for a minute and do just some deep breathing. It'll help reset your central nervous system, which I'm going to do right now.
We all need to take a deep breath.
Yeah, there's Mirren. He's such a cutie patootie. So did you guys know that when Keen was first being launched and being shipped out the door, Aneela was actually giving birth to this little baby? I mean, can you believe it? It's been 3 years, and she has one baby at home. She's pushing out another baby, and then there's the third baby, which is Keen, coming out the door. I mean, talk about resilience. That is incredible. Yeah, I'm seeing some notes come through. Yeah, car is a huge one. I do want to mention something about the car. So I want you to imagine that you're driving, right? And you've got your hands on the wheel. So one of the things that I would do is I would have with me, which I don't, a water bottle or a cup of coffee, so that when you're driving, you always have something else in your hand. Because then it's much harder to pull if you have something else in your hand. But you don't tell any cops I told you this, because they want you hands on the wheel. But if you have something else in your hand, the other thing I would do is take 2 hair ties and put them in my hands. And do deep breathing. When you start to catch yourself, don't berate yourself. Don't get mad at yourself. Just say, oh my gosh, I'm becoming aware. This is awesome. And do those deep breathing. And then grab something else that you can play with. I once had somebody tell me they didn't grab pencils, but they grabbed sunglasses. So she had 2 pairs of sunglasses in her hands while she was driving. And I thought that was awesome. And as you guys are exploring different things you can do, send Aneela and I notes. This is what I did and it worked for me. And we'll start publishing those and sharing with people strategies, because if one strategy works for me, it's likely it might work for somebody else. Silly putty, yeah. Silly putty is good, someone just put through. Gloves didn't work for me, but gloves work for a lot of people because you can put them on and then it's much harder to pull or to pick. The other thing too is our fingertips are so sensitive. If you can try, like with hand cream, for those that are face pickers or pullers, just to try to put cream on with your palms, it's much harder to feel those imperfections. Or if you're going to touch your hair, trying to do it with your palms, it's harder to find that one that you want to pull. Fingertips are very sensitive. Awesome. I like having little spiky pens and stuff and spiky balls. Those are all awesome. Pipe cleaners, that's another great one. And then
it's important to kind of remember that sensory aspect too.
Yeah, sometimes we just want something. Yeah.
And then the thing to remember is it's really about practicing using these things.
Yeah.
Right? It's one thing to have them in your car or in your backpack, but then it's another to have that strength to go for it and to grab them and to use them. And it's in that practice that you actually start making progress and you start seeing your brain start making those things the go-tos instead of your hair or your face or your nails.
And
you go back on mute.
And think about this. It's like, when we get up, we have routines. So we get up, we brush our teeth, and I guarantee most people probably don't know how they brush their teeth. Do you start up top? Do you do this? Which way do you do it? We don't know. But so we want to start to develop new habits. And when you're walking down that pathway, the same pathway every day, using the example of sitting, carpool, hair, biting the hair, playing with the hair, we're now going to create new pathways to walk on. And we're going to make changes in our brains. So I'm going to walk down the pathway of getting into my car and having my replacements with me, but also having my breath with me and having my brain with me and having my Keen with me, so that when I get that squeeze and that high five, that I'm able to shift my brain, shift my mindset. Instead of, I'm a terrible person, I can't stop. Now it's, oh my gosh, I'm building my awareness muscles. So I'm building that strength, I'm building my awareness, and then I'm loving myself by doing something else, be it deep breathing or be it play with something, a different toy. So it's all about practice. Practice makes progress, so that once we're all done and we can have this huge group hug at the next BFRB meeting in August, crossing fingers, then when something else comes about, that we have that resilience, we have those strategies, we have our mindset to pick ourselves back up, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
And Aneela and I talk about this all the time. We don't strive for being pull free or pick free, because that's impossible. But we do strive for being pull less. And I would think about 5 years ago, when I would pull anywhere from 10 minutes was a good day to 3 hours, which is a bad day. But I would pull every single day. And now I'm about 95% pull free. I can sit there and I could pull 1 or 2, which I never was able to do before. I get my awareness and I put my hands down. And remember, awareness is slippery. You might say to yourself, I know when I'm pulling. I know when I'm picking. Well, we could be sitting here having tortilla chips and margaritas or virgin margaritas, and we know we're eating tortilla chips and we think we're eating 12, but we're really eating 112, because awareness is slippery. So when you do have a bad time and you're uncomfortable because you had a difficult conversation with someone, or you're not sure if you're going to have your job, or you don't know if your loved one is sick, our hands and our minds get restless. But if you practice your resilience and your strategies and your mindset and your positive self-speak, you'll be able to bounce back much quicker. It's just like exercise. When your body is strong and then something happens and you can't exercise for a short period of time, when you pick it back up again, it's so much easier.
As a personal example, last week when all this COVID stuff started happening, I was pretty much a mess for almost a week. But I didn't really like turn to pulling as my escape, right? I didn't turn to that as much because I had been practicing over the last year healthier strategies, deep breathing, going for a walk, writing, talking to my husband who's hiding right now, finding a way to get it out of my brain, all of the what ifs, all of the doomsday stuff in my mind. Whoops, you okay? So that I had gone through that practice. And it helped me get through COVID anxiety much faster. I'm gonna go back to me.
And it's true. And these are the things that happen. Life happens. Life gets in our way sometimes. So we're here for you and we want to help you. And the best way is you got to want to make a change. And if you're ready to make a change, and change can be one of those things that you're not always ready, but if you want to make a change and you find your awareness and you build your muscles, your awareness muscles, and you love yourself, you can do it. I equate it to my mother who has diabetes. She became diabetic type 1 at age 65, which is a whole nother conversation. But she'll always be diabetic, but she can control her diabetes with exercise, insulin, and diet. And I can control my BFRB with awareness, my mindset, and my strategies. And you can do the same thing. And it's okay if we slip and we make mistakes, because that's what happens in life. So we're here for you. If anybody out there has any other questions that we didn't answer, you can send us an email. You can send it to Ellen at HabitAware.com or Aneela at HabitAware.com. We have a special offer out on the Keen bracelet right now where you'll get $15 off. And for every bracelet that's purchased, we will donate $20 to BFRB.org, because they're awesome and we love them, and we wouldn't be able to do any of this without them. And we're here to help you get it set up if you need it. The other thing that we do is every Wednesday we send out a Wear Your Wednesday awareness email. And if you have anything that you want to hear from us, just send us some ideas. We'd love to hear from you. For those that are conquering with Keen, share with us your stories and we'll share it out. But know that we are here. The reason, I say this to Aneela all the time, the reason I get out of bed in the morning is because I want to help our community. That's why we're here. And we just have a few more minutes, and we're so happy to be here. But any last suggestions or questions or different things that you want to type in? All right, well, this was awesome. Totally unbelievably awesome. I feel filled up. I really do. I feel so filled up. So I encourage you guys to go out there and fill up your own tanks. How do you fill them up? And whichever way you fill them up, let me know, because I love new ideas. And we believe in you. And thank you for believing in us. And I'm going to ask Amy if she wants to chime in a little bit.
Hey, thank you so much, Aneela and Ellen, for me at least. It was an amazing way to start my day with so many words of positivity and support. Aneela, I think we all can agree your children. So everyone should take a break, grab some water, and then we'll see you in just a few minutes at our next webinar with Dr. Renee Renardi. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Mwah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.